Yo, guys, welcome back again today. And today we will be talking about more African descent news from all around the world. People of African descent, black people, Aboriginal people, indigenous people, all around the world, every island, every nation. We're going to be talking about more news about them today and just around the world in general. So let's get right into it. So today, the first thing we'll talk about is a black entrepreneur that launches the nation's first cloud-based credit repair software for consumers. And this man is based in Indiana, Indianapolis, which is the state right next to me in the Midwest for you guys that are outside of America. It's a region called the Midwest, right next to the East Coast. So a brother by the name of Quintel, sumrall, from Indiana, Indianapolis, has created the first cloud-based software application that empowers individuals to get a handle on their credit as well as repair and maintain good credit. For you guys that have bad credit, right? You can get on the internet now and repair your credit through this man and his company. This brother went through having low credit scores, which increased his interest when buying things. So if you don't know about credit, when you have a low credit score, especially in America, that means that you don't pay things back, or you have a lot of debt that you didn't pay back, or, you know, it's a lot of reasons why you could have bad credit, but that's mostly the scenarios when you borrow money and you don't pay it back. And the more you borrow, you don't pay back, it's like a report card when you go to school. It takes 7 years to drop off. Most things take 7 years in America. I think like 7 years and 10 months or over 7 years. And once that happens, it drops off your credit and your credit can go back up. That's not the only way you can make your credit go back up. You can obviously pay off that debt, but some people don't have the money. And then also you can add lines of credit. So when you get a new credit card, or when you get like a Fingerhut card, or when you get a loan, that's going to increase your limit of the money that you have, like the capital that you have versus the debt that you have. So this brother had bad credit for a very, very long time. And after the last 7 years, as of today, so 7 years from today ago, he founded the Credit Dispute Cloud. And this software gets rid of the middleman with a little minimal fee, that you have to pay for his website. He saw the problem of African Americans being in debt and having poor credit due to income to debt ratio, poverty, and the lack of knowledge on how credit works. And I can attest to that. A lot of African Americans don't grow up, and maybe other people of African descent that come to America don't grow up understanding how credit works, and how if you have bad credit, that can be more interest that the banks and other people can charge you. And some people say, oh, well, you got to pay interest for everything. But if you're paying 30% versus somebody maybe paying 10% or 7% or whatever it might be, that's a lot of money that you're giving to somebody, because all interest is, hey, I let you borrow the money. So since I have the capital and the money to let you borrow, you're going to pay me extra because you don't have that money to get what you want right now. So the worse credit you have, that shows people that you can't pay people back. And the more people that you can't pay back, the more harder it is to get something, because basically people don't trust you. That's what credit is. Credit is trust, right? Credit is trust and making money on someone else because you have the capital to give them the money or whatever they want right now, right? So I tell a lot of people, like, you have to have patience, right? A lot of times people get in debt because they don't have patience. They run out here and they get a house that they can't afford, or they get a car that they can't afford. You have to have patience, right? So that's sort of kind of what credit is, right? So his solution is quick and easy to set up and let people begin their journey to better their credit. And this his plan start out at about $29, $29.99, so about $30. So definitely go check out his website. And the website features 24-hour access, and this is secure access, and is easy 4 steps and 4-month process helps clients repair credit scores with each of the 3 credit reporting bureaus. So if you're not from America, if you're a black person coming to America, African person coming to American Caribbean, whatever you might be, there are 3 bureaus in America that credit, like majority of companies that you get something through, whether it's a car, a loan, a credit card, they report to all 3 of those big credit bureaus, and you have different scores. So one could be like 700, another could be 680, and the other one could be like 700 or 800. I think they changed it because the other one is more. There's one that's more so important when you buy a house and a car, I think, and the other two are more important about everything else. So built into this software are over 100 custom dispute letters developed by experienced attorneys, and this enables clients to find the perfect template for their solution. So this brother, on his website, he has 100 custom dispute letters, and they were mocked up by real lawyers and experienced attorneys, right? So go check out this man's website. If you have bad credit, you can do it over the internet 24 hours a day. Go check it out. Link will be in the description. And I think this is a good thing for people of African descent in America, especially because we don't get taught about credit a lot. All of our parents don't teach us about credit and how important it is. And even if they did, they might not have had the grasp on it that we can have with technology, because now you can see your credit score every week, every day, what impacts it, what doesn't. The internet is a beautiful thing, so go check out this brother. The next thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the Afro-Latino Festival in Belgium. Yo, hola to all my Afro-Latinos in all South America, Central America, the Caribbeans, and all around the world. And let's talk about this Afro-Latino Festival in Belgium. So the Afro-Latino Fest in Belgium will be held the second weekend of July 2019 on the 12th, 13th, and 14th of that month, right? This festival is said to be the most exotic festival in Belgium, and in previous years, the festival had performers such as Daddy Yankee, Shaggy, LA33, and Mr. Vegas. So the early bird price is going to be 75 euros for the people in Europe. You know it's 75 euros, but for everybody else in America and maybe Latin America, it's going to be 85 American dollars. And if you want to camp at the festival, it's going to be 95 euros, so a little bit more expensive. And 95 euros is 108 American dollars, right? So I think it's very important for Afro-Latinos to be put out here to the world, because there's a lot of people in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, all around the world that doesn't even know that Afro-Latinos even exist. If you tell them that there's black people in Honduras, even some people in America, black people in America especially, they'll be like, there's black people in Honduras, there's black people in Ecuador, there's black people in Brazil, there's black people in Mexico, you know what I'm saying? Black people in Venezuela and Panama. So I think it's really, really dope, and it's really important that Afro-Latinos get put out to the world, because Afro-Latinos are very, very much so discriminated against when it comes to their history and the impact that they had in South America, Central America, and some parts of the Caribbean, right? And I think it's very important, guys. So if you don't know about Afro-Latinos, you probably need to go check them out in all these South American, Central America, and the Caribbean countries. And a lot of them speak Spanish, some speak Portuguese, and I think it's dope. If you're in Europe, if you're around Belgium, yo, go check out your African brothers and sisters that are from Latin America, and go check them out. And I think this festival is going to be dope. Maybe I'll go there when I go to Europe, maybe in the summertime. So, yo, that's all for the Afro-Latino festival. If you want to know more about the Afro-Latino Fest in Belgium, yo, link in the description, information in the description. Let's go to the next thing. Now, Kamaru Usman has become the first African fighter to win the Ultimate Fighting Championship, or the UFC title, right? Kamaru Usman is the first African-born fighter to win the mixed martial art fight against Tyrone Woodley. He is also known as the Nigerian Nightmare and dominated the Las Vegas welterweight title. The UFC is the biggest competition in MMA, or mixed martial arts, where competitors combine boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and other martial arts disciplines and fighting disciplines. Usman, which is 31, produced the performance of his career to dominate the long-reigning welterweight champion Woodley. He extended his winning streak to 14 and maintained his unbeaten record in the UFC. In his post-match press conference, he revealed that before the match, he had fractured his foot and had been walking around in a supportive boot all week. He started off the press conference by greeting journalists in Arabic before switching to Pidgin. So he speaks Arabic and he speaks Pidgin, which is in Nigeria, there's so many different languages, but one of them is Pidgin. And in Pidgin, he said, "Nigeria, I have told them we would do it. I told them we never fell. And we have done it today." And he said, like I just said a minute ago, he said that in Pidgin, right? Usman was born in Nigeria, but left for Arlington in Texas as a young child when his family migrated to the U.S. from Nigeria. Osmond, a former winner of the Ultimate Fighter TV show, began wrestling at high school in Texas and was a top prospect throughout college. So congratulations to that brother. He's the first African-born person to win this title in the welterweight class. I'm pretty sure I'm not exactly too savvy on the UFC, but I'm pretty sure other people of African descent have won this title, so African Americans have probably won this title. But it's dope to see a brother that moved here from the motherland to America, and he won this title. So congratulations, brother, and definitely go check him out if you guys have not seen any of his performances. On to more black news. In Senegal, West Africa, Senegal has unveiled the Museum of Black Civilizations. The president of Senegal in West Africa has inaugurated the new Museum of Black Civilizations in the capital of Dakar. If you guys don't know, the capital of Senegal is Dakar, right? Beautiful city. You should go definitely visit there. Please do. It's an amazing city. This follows the call for France to return art that was looted during the colonial era. So during the colonization and slavery era, France took a lot of artifacts, African artifacts outside of America, and that's most African countries. Unfortunately, a lot of European countries took artifacts outside of Africa, right? The Black Civilization Museum will show off art from Mali, Burkina Faso, Cuba, and Haiti. After decades of inaction, construction was finally made possible after a $34 million Chinese investment. The idea of establishing the museum dates back more than 50 years, and former presidents started the idea to combat against the French forcing their culture on the African countries that they colonized and the Caribbean countries and all throughout the world that they colonized, and black people all around the world. So they wanted to make sure that African people or people of African descent had their black culture or their African culture. They didn't want the French culture to be pushed on to people like it was during colonization, and they're trying to reverse that, right? It is expected to open to the public in the coming weeks. The Museum of Black Civilizations has changed the landscape of downtown Dakar. Built in a circular shape, the architect was inspired by traditional homes in typical southern Senegal. So it's inspired by African art, which I think is dope, because the museum is going to look very black and very African. Even the design of the museum is going to look like it's created by us, and it's of African descent, so it should look that way, right? Which I think is dope. The museum's bosses hope they will be able to turn Senegal into an intellectual and cultural capital of the black world. For years, Dakar has been aiming to position itself as a cultural capital in the region, so I think that this is a good start as far as when you come to huge museums for black people all around the world. As you guys know, we have the African American Museum in DC, which is a really dope museum. We have the Somali Museum in Minnesota. We have African American museums all throughout America, and maybe other African museums that I don't know about. But back in Africa, it's dope to see these ancient artifacts being returned back to Africa and put into a black museum that is meant for all people of African descent around the world, indigenous people, Aboriginal people all around the world, not just black people in Africa or in America or whatever. And, you know, we also have to know about the $34 million investment by China. What do you guys think? Do you think that China has some kind of stake behind that, or do you think that China is doing it out of goodwill? We have to realize that we have been doing business with China for hundreds of years. People don't realize this. Some people think that China-Africa relations is new. Yes, China is the new superpower in the world like it once was hundreds of years ago. It's the superpower. We know that it's, in some aspects, it's colonizing Africa. In other aspects, it might not be colonizing Africa, depending on what the deals are between us as people of African descent, whether it's in the diaspora or in Africa, because we have a stake in Africa as well, because that's the motherland, right? Obviously, the whole world is the motherland because we're the first people and all indigenous Aboriginal people. But let's be real here. Africa is the base at this point, right? So therefore, with that being the base, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to make this continent great? And so therefore, what do you guys think about China? Do you think that China is doing it for their own goodwill? Or do you think that China is actually in Senegal, not other African countries, but in Senegal? Do you think that the Senegalese government has worked out a good deal with the Chinese government? Let me know, guys. On to the last thing, guys. The British Museum agrees to return Ethiopian emperor's hair. So they're going to return emperor, very famous emperor, his hair, right? The hair belonging to the Emperor Tewodros II will be repatriated after a request from Ethiopia. An outcry erupted last year in Ethiopia over the display of hair belonging to the emperor in an exhibit, in a UK exhibit, and it was in a UK museum, right? 2 locks of the hair belonging to the widely revered Ethiopian emperor was displayed by the National Army Museum in the UK. Most Ethiopians will know the legendary story of the emperor fighting against the Europeans and eventually killing himself, and his fortress being captured and looted, right? Ethiopia's government at the time said it would use whatever legal and diplomatic instruments to secure the return of the related items, including a intricate golden crown, right? So now Ethiopians say that they seek the return of the bones of the emperor's son as well. So they want the hair, the crown, and the bones. That's right, my people. Get it back, my Ethiopian people. Get it back. You know what I'm saying? Because it's rightfully yours and it deserves to be in Ethiopia, right? Who was taken to Britain and died there at the age of 18. He was buried at St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, and this could increase the pressure on museums elsewhere in Europe to follow suit. Experts estimate that up to 90% of Africans' art is outside of the continent, including statues, thrones, and manuscripts. So guys, we learned more about more current news, what's happening with black people all around the world today. Like I always tell you guys, we always need to know about each other around the world. Unity is definitely key. Unity is key. We might not always agree with everything. We might come from different countries and different ways of life, but we always have to realize that unity is key in talking things out. And today we learned a lot. And I also want to say the clothing brand, I have a clothing brand that's coming out pretty soon called Johannes brand, and I'm still working on it. I want you guys to know that it will be out soon, but I have a brand that's coming out called Johannes. It will be a clothing brand, it will be a production brand, and it will also be a music production brand, videography, photography, and music production brand. So watch out for that. That's going to be up here pretty soon, guys. Always, guys, each one teach one. Always stick together all around the world as African people. Like me on all my social medias and follow me. All my social medias are Afric Network, which is Twitter, Snapchat, SoundCloud, Instagram, and Facebook. And also make sure that you subscribe and like and turn on the bell notification down there so you will always get the latest update from me and Afric Network. And so guys, until next time, peace. One love to all black people around the world.
What's up? What's up?
Hey.
Shalom.
What up?
Hi.
Africa.